Furthermore, we've seen a rise in support for Pride from mainstream businesses. And this year is definitely no exception. We see brands having rainbows splashed over their normal advertising or selling products specifically linked to Pride. Now, on the surface, this may seem like an amazing thing that's happening. Surely it's a good thing that these brands are being so open in their support. Surely this kind of mainstream acceptance is exactly what we want. Surely it's a good thing that a teenager could walk off the street into a high street shop and buy something that made them feel known and seen in a way they hadn't before. Does it really matter about the intentions or the story behind it? Well, perhaps. This idea of brands co-opting Pride to sell products is reasonably controversial. For some people, it's difficult to see this as anything other than a cynical publicity stunt trying to gain access to the pink pound, rather than something which is genuinely going to change anything. Personally, I don't necessarily think the answer lies in either extreme. What I think is important is that we ask some questions about the brands and the campaigns that they're running instead. Number one, the product. Sometimes this is a literal product you can buy, and sometimes this is just the general advertising to do with the brand that they've slapped a rainbow on. And I think we need to ask some questions around what exactly that campaign is doing. For example, is the campaign explicitly about LGBTQ+ people? Or is it kind of like more of a general advertising campaign for the brand that has some very generic message about like, love is good? And for specific products, let's take clothing as an example. Because it's all well and good to say just slap a rainbow on something, but if these particular Pride ranges are just replicating the issues that we see in the wider fashion industry, is it truly this inclusive kind of outreach that it's meant to be? For example, is the advertising gender neutral? Do the clothes come in a full range of sizes? Are they inclusive designs that aren't limited to the gender and sexual binaries? Were they designed by LGBTQ+ designers? Are they, affordable in any way, shape or form? Gucci, I'm looking at you. The idea being, if these companies truly wanted to celebrate the community, they'd engage with the community enough to know what kinds of things might be an issue for them when they're buying clothes normally and, not do those things. Basically, does it seem like it's just a money grab that's taking advantage of a community that feels so unseen that one tiny flash of rainbow tie-dye makes us scramble for our fanny packs and dungarees to get out that loose change? So I picked clothing as a first example because I think that's kind of obvious. It allows people to feel seen. It is something that people wear every day. But there are other products that are also being kind of jumped on with this bandwagon. Rainbow bottle openers, rainbow toilet roll. Do these things really do anything for the community if they're not also working within the community to do some good outside of the product itself? I think we need to ask questions about whether we think being mainstream is the goal, and if it is, whether this actually achieves it, or whether it's just select products at a very certain time of year. So question section number 2, the profits. Namely, where do they go? Does any money go to LGBTQ+ causes? And if so, how much? Or is it a very vague, partnering with situation in which that information isn't actually given out publicly? Also, are those LGBTQ+ designers getting paid fairly for their work? Basically, if brands are not paying any of that money towards LGBTQ+ organisations, non-profits, charities, then they're profiting from a community without giving anything back, especially because it's a community that does have a lot of causes that you might need to donate to. What with the increased risk of homelessness and drug dependency and bullying in schools and also legal restrictions all over the world. Question section number 3, the principle. I hope you appreciate that I've done P's for all of these. This was not intentional, but for the good of Pride Month, we're gonna run with it. Principle. Are companies that are otherwise homophobic or transphobic for the rest of the year doing these publicity stunts? Because I think then it feels fairly clear that we can call them publicity stunts. Are companies doing the work all throughout the year, having inclusiveness training for staff, having non-transphobic policies in regards to restrooms and changing rooms? Are they using inclusive and diverse models in campaigns? Are they including gay and trans people in any of their campaigns that they're running for the rest of the year? The way that these products are so often linked to Pride and Pride Month in particular means that often they aren't available for the rest of the year. And I think we do have to ask if it is that this is a sign that we are so included and so accepted and so mainstream now, why isn't it actually mainstream for the rest of the year too? Personally, I think that rainbow stuff can make people feel very seen and very included and bring a lot of joy to people who will just walk in off the street to somewhere that has a pride display. And though I can see the argument that there are some which don't go far enough to explicitly be LGBT and are more sort of oh, a straight person could wander in and see this and be oh, love is good, I believe love is good, that's for me. But I do think it's kind of useful in a way that it allows people who are still closeted or questioning to wear those products and internally know what it means, but not out themselves externally. So I don't even have a problem with that necessarily. Personally, I think some of these products are cute as hell. I know a lot of people who are gonna buy them, and I think that's totally fine. But I don't think it's mutually exclusive that we can also question and call out these companies that are doing this thing once a year. I don't think it's indicative of the idea that suddenly it's all rainbows and sunshine and inclusivity when for the rest of the year that isn't a value that they're necessarily upholding. So what do you think about products and pride? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you'd like to help support me make these videos, I'm going to leave a link to my Patreon in the description along with all my social media so you can find me all over the internet. And until I see you next time, bye.